All right. So what I want to demonstrate for you today is how to access this instructional strategy file that I built over the summer. When I was asked to help be kind of support for teachers, that was very scary for me. So the only thing that I could think of was what would have helped me. And what would have really helped me was an instructional strategy file. Some way to present the information. I have all this information, how can I present it in a way? And it was hard to always think of like, to do this, to do that. And so I would kind of fall into a rut. This is how I do it. These are the 3 things I offer in my class. And I instinctively knew that I could do better, but I just didn't have the time to figure it all out. So I spent the summer, I reached out to some contacts I have down at the BYU Education Department, and they let me come in and sit with their PhD and master level education students and just ask them, you've just gone through all this education. You've just got your bachelor's, now you're on to your master's, you're getting your PhD. What are the best strategies you've learned? The best instructional strategies? What are your favorite ones that you're for sure going to use in your classroom? If you're coming in, just grab, there's a handout up there. And they told me. And then I would go home and research those and figure out really how to run them. And I put them together in this big instructional strategy file. There's 57 different instructional strategies. Some are very simple comprehension checks. Most are kind of midline. You could use 15, 20 minutes in a class period. But then some on the other end are full class periods or even beyond a week-long debate. Because maybe you're saying, yeah, sure, it'd be great. You know, sometimes we'll go to these trainings and they'll say, maybe you could run a week-long debate. You could write Napoleon was good for France on the board and run a week-long debate on that subject in your class. And you think, you're right. As if I have the hours to figure out 1, how to do debate, what all the rules are, 2, how I would direct my students to do it. Just gets overwhelming. Not a problem, friends, because now you can just come into the instructional strategy file, look up debate, and click on the different handouts, and I have 2 different packets for you that have all the timing, have all the templates for their speeches, and it's all you have to do is print them out, hand them to your favorite student that likes to run things and make them feel like they can do this, and let them be the moderator, and suddenly your class has run a debate on that with really little to no work from you. But we've lifted our classroom experience by having them be more engaged in the learning process. So that's what the instructional strategy file is. I want to say this, it's not games. It may look like games, some of them, but I've had a few people say to me, what's that game thing you're working on? When I have games in my classroom, please get beyond that if that's your thought. This is a way to engage our students in higher order thinking. Direct instruction is an important part of what we do. But I thought Liz said it so great this last time. When adults are talking, students hear, yeah, that's all they hear. And so if we're only relying on direct instruction and not forcing them to really engage in the learning process, then they're probably gleaning about 10% of what we do. So it's not games. Some of them may present as games, not all of them. But really, you have to think of it as forcing our students to engage in higher order thinking. That's really what the purpose of all of these are. Yes?
I can't see that.
Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. You don't have to see it yet. If you can sit closer.
I saw my reading glasses on, but
they're the wrong glasses. They're the wrong glasses. Glasses are okay. You said you're perfect. It's okay. It's okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, so to find the instructional strategy, all of you have been on it. If you go into your library and it's not there, then please let me know, and that's just a mistake I made, and I'll add you to it. But you just go to here's my homepage in Veritas, and I go up to library right here. Can you see that? The library tab. And I click on the library tab, and here it is. Look, here it is. And so, it's so great. I'm so excited. You can tell I'm just thrilled. So in yours, it'll just come here and you click on it, it'll open. Because I'm the author of it, I have to actually push this little down a little bit, but you won't have to do that. Here's the instructional strategy file. So there are just 57 different strategies. I put them in order of how I found them or how they were given to me. None of this is these aren't my ideas. These are existing strategies that are out there that is all I did was kind of cull them. I also went to the Alpine School District. They had, well, it's that Joe Arnson. We went last year for 1 week in the high school, but they have a 3-week-long one. Attended that to try to gain more and talk to teachers there. And so these are just how they are. So here we have Think, Pair, Share. Many of you know that. I just want to explain kind of what I've done here. At the top, the first thing I've done is I told you how much prep time it takes. So you can look through and say, okay, I just don't have the bandwidth this week to do a lot, but I can choose one that has minimal prep time. Or this week I feel more ambitious. I want to try something that has a little more prep time required. So it'll tell you how much prep time, just kind of like minimal, a little more, or a lot. That's how I divided it up. And then I just marked our learning objectives, just different learning objectives. I had a list of them that I created, and then each one, whichever learning objective it fits. So for example, Think-Tac-Toe requires a little more prep time, but it adapts content, accounts for varied learning styles, fosters independent thinking. So if you're looking at your scope and sequence and you're thinking, what can I do here that fosters independent thinking, Think-Tac-Toe is a great one. And let me show you, I'm focusing on Think-Tac-Toe because it has a little blue link. So if it does not have a link, like this first one, I don't have anything for you. I'm just explaining what the strategy is. It doesn't require any paperwork. It's just something that you do in your classroom. If it has a note and one of these links, each one is a different template. So I'm going to show you this. Think-Tac-Toe, one of my favorite things to use in my classroom. I'm just going to show you it. You click to it, and it takes you directly to the document. So here's one that I use in my classroom. And it basically is just a tic-tac-toe board that has 9 different activities for your students around whatever subject matter you have, right? You could use this for any subject. You could use this for math and have some higher order, a little more complex things. You can use it for science, you can use it for literature, anything at all. And so this one is set up for literature, because that's what I was using it for. And so you give it to your students at the beginning of class, and they have to find 3 connecting activities to do. But they get that freedom of choice. So here they may say, all right, I really want to draw a map of where the story takes place, label at least 5 places that are important to the story. But now they have to do a tic-tac-toe pattern. Does that make sense? So they can either, they're tied to those 2 or they're tied to these 2, however they want to do it. And then they just have time in that class period to kind of work independently. The other great thing about these strategies are, it takes the pressure off you as a teacher to constantly be performing the entire time. With Think-Tac-Toe, you can have it, you can print it out, have it available, and then let your students work through these activities in your class. Okay, so here's one suggestion. You can create your own. If you're not sure exactly how to create your own, not a problem. Here's a little blank template for you that you can just go in and use. Okay, so that's just one of them. But as you go through this here, there are 57. Sticky note graphs, for those of you that were new teacher training, do you remember we did the sticky note graphs? That was a really, really wonderful activity that I love using with my students.
So this is either in a scroll form?
Yes, you kind of just have to scroll through them. You will have to take some time. Please take some time, somewhere near the beginning of the year, to really look through these. With 57, you'll find a few that work for you. You don't have to use them all. Find 3 or 4 that you feel like, well, that feels like me. That's something I could use in my classroom. And then use those. And then beyond that, you can come back to it later. But start with a few. Here's like reflection and response. These are just really simple sponge activities, I call them, like at the end of the period when your class ends a little early and you don't want to just say, let's play silent ball again. Here are 3 different things you can just print out in advance. Here's a reflection pyramid. You can just have these on file in your class. Here's reflection buzz. There's 3 different ways to present a reflection, where they just think back over what they knew that class period, what they learned that class period. Okay, so, and then reflecting on bright ideas is another one. But this just breaks down everything that, exactly how to run it. Mini whiteboards. For some reason, this scroll, here it is. Okay. But this is what the strategy is. Learning contracts, if you have a student that's really on that learning threshold, then consider creating a learning contract with them. And here's a sample. You can click to it and see a sample of a learning contract where they are able to take on an additional project in addition to your curriculum and really work on something. And if you're not really sure how to do that, not a problem. Here's a sample for you. That you can this is geared for literature, but you can create your own really simply. And that's an example for you. A great way to keep those higher learners engaged. Okay, course size, you guys know that. Exit tickets, different centers, how to separate them. Cubing, this is a great one. This is a super fun thing to do. You just create these little cubes in advance, and you can write different questions. So here's just a blank template. And you can use this, print it out, have your students write different questions about it, make a little cube, then they sit in circles and roll the cube and answer the questions. It's all here for you. You just have to take some time with it. I want to talk a little bit really quick about what I've been asked to do. Here's the different discussion models, how to run them, and there's some guidelines for them. Everything is here for you. What I want you to expect of me is support. If you have any questions about any of these strategies, please feel free to reach out to me and say, I was reading this, but I don't quite understand. Maybe you could model it for me in your classroom, and I'll come in on my prep period and watch you do it in your class. I can throw any of these into my classroom at any time, and you're welcome to come in and see me do it. For some of our brains, that's better than trying to read through the instructions and imagine how it might look in our classrooms. Another thing is that I'm happy to come in and model it in your classrooms. So if you're comfortable with that and you say, you know what, I would just love for you to come in and run an agreement circle, because that sounds cool, but I'd really love to see it in practice before I try to do it on my own, then I'll come in and do that. That's not a problem either.
I stepped in late, so I don't know if everyone knows your position. Do you want me to introduce that for a minute? Or maybe we can show your little video when
we showed it yesterday in our department meeting for 7 through 12, but I assumed everyone knew. Okay, so sorry. Thank you. Okay, I have a new position as Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and it's just acting as a support ramp for new or newer teachers to help them really feel confident and supported in the classroom. The living textbook is beautiful, but it's also incredibly heavy for new teachers, that concept. So to have someone in there saying, you know what, you come up with a thought that you want to work on in your class, and I will help you have a Socratic circle. I'll come in and help you run it, or you can come see how it's done in my classroom, and then you can try to run it, and then you can ask me any questions, and really try to lift the learning experience that our students are having here. And then for existing teachers, creating this file and just being kind of a bucket of ideas that can help them bring some freshness to their classrooms as well. Does that answer it? Good enough? Yes.
And if we have time, because a few of us came out late, would you be willing to just share a little bit about the Patriot Press?
Yes, I started with that. I'm happy to go back there. Okay, so the other thing I want you guys to know is that I will be coming into your classrooms. I've been asked to come into your classrooms. It's not as a judgment. It's as truly just as a friend, only there to support you and how. Why are you laughing at that? The rule is saying that's what they all say. Let me explain how I'm going to do it. The reason why I'm going to do it is we're going to have an independent evaluation coming through. And so it behooves us to be prepared for that independent evaluation, right?
Consultation.
Consultation.
Yeah, it's basically an outside experienced educator, expert, curriculum design, PhD, who's going to come in and look at everything we're doing K-12
Yes.
and be kind of a resident alien and say, gosh, this was amazing, and here's
Yeah.
all the things you're doing super well, and here's some things you might want to consider doing from a curriculum design and delivery standpoint at different grade levels.
Yes.
And then we're going to take it or leave it, whatever we like, whatever we don't.
Yes.
So it's an independent consultation of someone who will also know our school and our curriculum. We've got lots of people like that in our school community
Yes.
who have that skill set.
Thank you.
We haven't announced the person yet, but it's or have we? Have we announced? Okay.
So,
Are they also?
but it will make us, it will make us, I just want you to feel prepared for as these changes happen, I want you to feel that support.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll be emailing the different sets of teachers, like 9th, 7th grade teachers, 8th grade teachers, 9th, 10th, and just saying, when this week can I come in? I don't want to just show up in your classroom, because I know that there are times when I'm like, okay, this period I have something really wonderful, and Liz walks in on the period right before that, and I'm always like, no, not then, come back in a half hour. But I want you to say, okay, this week test, let's do it on Thursday at 11 o'clock. I'm going to go through the instructional strategy file, and I'm going to try something new. You come in, and let's see if, let's see how it goes. Yes.
And Tess truly is not evaluating you at all.
No.
She and I will not even be talking about what she observes in the classroom. There will be no reflection on you in terms of evaluation of your teaching skills or pedagogy or anything like that from Tess.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes. The only thing I can do, the only thing I'll really say to Liz is, wow, I just saw the most amazing thing. Really. Jeff just learned the best lesson ever, and that was awesome.
Share it with other
To
teachers,
share.
kind of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But if any struggles or any my opinion on anything, which I don't have, you guys, I really don't have an opinion on anything. I'm just here to be supportive and help.
So when we have you come, we're free to do something of our own.
Yes.
That we feel has been.
Yes, yes. And if there's something that you think should be added to this instructional strategy file, it's a living document. I've set it as a PDF to protect it because I don't want bits of it to be accidentally erased if someone's in there doing things. But I can change it. It just goes through me. We definitely want to add to it.
I thought maybe adding a table of contents. I'd be happy to help you with that.
Yeah, that's a great, no, I love that. It's a great idea. And I would like to go back and make them alphabetical as well. I just ran out of time. Okay, so that's what this is. It's not meant to change you, it's meant to add to what you're already doing and just make you feel more confident, more supported, and have some fun. Have some fun in your classroom. Really engage those learners and have them want to come in and think, what are we going to do today? What's going to happen today? Something fun, something different. I know if I go into this class, it's going to be something engaging. We need to have pattern and routine in our structure, but we need to have variety in our instructional methods. And those two things together are what create that really dynamic classroom experience that we all want.
I'm just thinking as a core teacher, it would be really good to work on this when I have them for 2 hours straight,
Yes.
to shake it up.
Yes, that's a really great idea. I know on Mondays, I have my students for they have English and history and written portfolio with me on Mondays right in a row. It's a heavy day. And so that's a great thought, to make sure on those days maybe we're putting something a little more engaging in. Okay, I'm not going to go through all 57. We don't have time. But what I am going to do is we're going to practice some. Yay! So this is in there. It's called an ABC Think on It. I love this one. I'm just going to run it as if you guys are ninth graders. So, all right, we are going to do an ABC Think on It. Today, our subject is, you choose anything you want here, anything at all. But today we're going to do it on what a teacher is. What is a teacher? I'm going to ask that we have 26 letters of the alphabet. I'm going to ask that this be a silent discussion, that there be no talking at all. And I'm going to ask you to not fill in more than 2 letters. So if that's the case, we should have at least half of the class participating. You just have to come up and write a single word that starts with that letter, or phrase, or you could, Z's a little hard. Sometimes what we'll do is we'll write a word around it, or write a word before it, or include it within the word. You can do that. So A through Z, what a teacher is. And there's just no talking at all. There's just no talking at all. There's just no talking at all. There's no talking at all. I don't have to do this with my neighbor. Instructional strategy file and ABC think on it, you may think, oh, that's lame. But it's not lame. It's a really powerful teaching strategy. Yes.
I was going to say, it can enhance what you're already doing. So we already have a discussion on what are the responsibilities of a teacher. What do you expect from a teacher?
Yes.
And then I have, what does a teacher expect from students? So we go both ways.
Yes.
And so you do this for the teacher, then have a student typing up everything as a scribe, so you have a list of that, and then you do the same thing for students, and then sit in a Socratic circle and talk about what are the responsibilities now. I mean, ultimately, what do you see me doing? How do you want me to behave? So go beyond the words, and then just talk about it. It's okay. What do you expect from yourselves?
Yes.
And how do we hold each other accountable?
I love it. I love that role. Thank you so much. I love that you say, and then fold in another instructional strategy and go right into that. It's wonderful. What a dynamic experience your students would have. We did this last year as a review on our Egyptian studies. So at the end of our Egyptian studies, we did an ABC think on it, and I was amazed at the things that my students were able to pull out. It was open notes, so they were able to look through their notes, you know, and try to remember what they had learned. And then we went back over letter by letter and just reviewed. So it can be something more kind of like a larger concept, like what is a teacher, and then you're talking about expectations and stuff, which at the 12th grade level is really, really powerful. Or it could just be a simple way to have it as an assessment tool, right? Just a simple assessment tool for your students. It's different than I'm going to have you write a response. Just something different, but very powerful. I chose this one because it takes zero prep, and it's just something you could have in your back pocket. Your students won't get tired of doing it. If they do it in Mr. Raleigh's 7th grade class, they do it again in Ms. Yamada's 8th grade class, they do it again in my 9th grade class, they're not going to get tired of this. It's still an engaging strategy. Yes?
You know, what I found is how much I enjoy doing that.
Yes. I know, we've been here all week, and it's hard. I always feel for my students during foundations training. It's physically exhausting to sit all day. When I go home and my husband says, okay, let's calendar tomorrow, I can't. I'm like, I'm fried, and it's all I've been doing is sitting all day. It's physically exhausting to sit all day. We have to remember that's it's hard for our students to do that. And in some classes they have to, although I would encourage all subjects to look through these strategies and see what you can use to pull your students up. You could even do this, this would be really fantastic in math. You could do a series of problems and just have them look at them and get up and work them and just kind of have that quiet time where people are independently getting up. There's something very powerful about that moment for students. So I try to create those moments a lot. But again, nothing that I made up.
What do you do in order to introduce the technique or the strategy of that you're going to use? Because I'll be honest, you announced what it was, and you said, here we go. And all these people ran up, and I'm sitting there going, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. So with my students, I say it's like playing a board game with these strategies. You have to just go through it once, and then you understand the game. I can stand up here for a long time and explain what the strategy is, and by the way, don't write two, and by the way, don't, you know what I mean, or whatever it is. But it's much better to give a short description and then just sit down and let the students, and you can do it really quick. Yeah. And then when we do it next time, they know it. So there are certain things like I'll say, okay, we're going to do this now, and of course they know what it is. So I would say fewer instructions, just basic instructions to begin with, and then they will just figure it out. Okay, I wanted to do another one, but we only have 3 minutes before the break. So maybe we'll just take our break early and come back.
Let's vote. I want you to do it.
Okay, well, I'll just explain the other one I was going to do really quick, in maybe 3 minutes. So I would like you just to quickly on a piece of paper, this is called, actually this is called intrigue response that I was going to do. This is in the file. It's just an intrigue response. I'll just do a little mini version of it. This is a really, really fantastic. It's one of my favorite things. It's super simple. It takes no prep at all, but very engaging for students. Okay, so without looking at your students at all, I'll have my back turned the entire time. I'm going to ask you, I'll just say things that pertain to this subject, whatever your subject is, and it can apply to anything. But for this, I'm going to say, I want you to tell me something different or intriguing. It's called intrigue response. So something intriguing, you're not writing it down right now, something intriguing that you learned at Foundation, something about American heritage, or something about teaching, something that was interesting or intriguing to you. Here we go. I can't hear you.
Our stories.
Your
Thank
opinion about stress matters.
Breathing techniques.
Thank you.
Connections.
Anxiety and depression factors.
Christ-like character.
Deep learning.
they learn it. So I would just keep going and I would fill the whole board. And then for the entry response, I turn and I say, I want you to choose one thing on this board. It may not be the thing that you suggested. Someone else might have said something that you thought, yeah, actually that was interesting to me. One thing, and I want you to write a paragraph on it right now. And then we just have 10 minutes of quiet time. They're able to choose one thing. By this time, I'll fill the board completely with things that we've said. And then they choose one thing and just write a paragraph on it and submit that. And then it gives me a real feel for what the students are being drawn to in my curriculum, what's interesting to them, the things that I think, oh, they're going to love this story about King Tut. They're going to love that. In fact, I'll have, 30, 40% of my students write on a different area of King Tut. And I think, oh, I didn't even really realize that that resonated with them. And then it helps direct my curriculum for the next year because I'll focus a little more on that. It's more interesting to them. And we just have, but that's entry response.
Do you grade those papers spelling and all that?
No, I don't grade them for spelling and grammar at my level, but I do grade them for thought. They have to write a complete paragraph, and they learned this early on, that a complete paragraph is a minimum of 7 sentences. And so they know they have to write a complete paragraph, a thoughtful paragraph with complete sentences. But if they have a full response that I know, and of course I know the students out there, their skill set, if I can see that they really put thought into that response, then usually it's like 5 points, participation points. Are there any questions on that? That's just one of them that's called entry response. Really simple ones. Okay, I wanted to just slow down. I got so excited up here. You guys don't know how excited I've been to share this with you. Very, very excited. So I realized during the break, I'm talking super fast. Just pretty excited. So I just want to slow down. And I want to start this next session by talking a little bit about this handout that I gave you. I won't go through all of it, but I want to say that there are four or five really important elements of having successful group work. The first is to communicate expectations. And I think you actually have to have a conversation with your students about this. Do not assume that they know how to work effectively in a group. They probably don't. Even if they do know how, they will default to, they'll default to the easy route, which is chatting and doing other stuff. That's just what they'll default to. So in your classroom, at the beginning of the year, before you start group work, you have to have an actual lesson and conversation with them and come up with some, on the board you're writing down some agreed upon expectations for group work. And then you'll find that your students, when they come into your class, they will rise to that level. They know what's expected of them for group work, and you won't have to spend your time going around asking them to stop having side conversations or everyone needs to participate because it's a standard you've already established. I wrote down some suggestions here that we do in my classroom, but you can guide your students and come up with your own. I would also say the second one, strategically build a group. I'm not going to do it today for this next group work we're going to do because I didn't know who all would be here. But you know your classroom. And I know that they want to choose their own groups, but I would say to give that thought. You can choose what you want to do, but I would give that thought. I don't let my students choose their own groups because I want there to be one strong learner, an outspoken person, one more quiet person. I don't want friends to work together because they're going to chat the whole time.
Yeah, I just tell them, you need to sit by and work with someone you don't like. And they do it. It's really
That's
good.
right. I call it academic partners. Academic partners.
If they're not
Your
good
academic
maybe your
partners.
best friend, but they may not be a good academic partner.
Okay, I love that. That's
Yeah,
great.
which that's
On
good
the
too.
younger grades, if you're in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, there is, maybe I feel it, and I'm turning 50 in next week. But when they say divide into groups, I feel angst. I feel pressure and vulnerable. So if you're in the younger grades, you can alleviate that and fix every problem by just having the groups on the board. I type them up the night before. I just stick them up on the board with a magnet, and I say, get your groups, and they know to go and look at who their group is and get in it.
Well, and there's so many other strategies. When I'm teaching plants, as they come in, I'll give them a different seed. Okay, everybody
Yes.
with the black.
Yes, you
black
can do that
seeds,
too.
okay, everybody with
Yes.
with 6th grade, 7th grade, they love that.
Yes, I bet they do. That's a great
Or
idea.
color coded.
So strategically build your groups. Structure your activities. You have to do some scaffolding for these activities. Part of it is structuring your groups and communicating expectations. If you just say, I want you guys to think deeply this hour, so I'm going to put you in groups and give you a suggestion, they won't do it. You have to have structured activities within that group breakout, things for them to do. A great example is the literature circles. I'm going to show this to you because these are, I love these. So the literature circles are fantastic. And I tried literature circles, and my students just sat and talked about side things. A few of them, 25% of them would do the actual literature circle. The others would just get distracted and start talking about the soccer game. And I was constantly going around and saying, okay, let's make sure, students, that we're really engaging in this discussion and trying to guide the discussion. And then I realized that I needed to structure that activity. So within the literature circles, you could come here and you can see different options. So here is one option, if you like it. Each person, I've created these, each person has a role sheet. So you have your summarizer, your question discussion director, your connector, and explains what this is. The connector, your job is to find connections between the book and you, between the book and the wider world. Consider the list below when you make your connections. And so I have my 6 students in a group, 7 students in a group. I give them each a role sheet. And then I give them 15 minutes with a novel to complete their role sheet, to go through and find those connections and think about it. Then they come together in a literature circle, and they're each given time to participate in that discussion. And suddenly you've structured this activity in a way that ensures them success and that higher level thinking, and they're not going to be as likely to start talking about the soccer game. So these are here for you. This is one option if you don't want to do a full, where everyone has a sheet and you give them the first 15 minutes. This second option, right here, is really simple. You just give everyone a copy of this. And then you have your different students. This gives them little thought starters. And then they come together and discuss it. But you have to structure these activities. You can't just throw them in it and hope that they'll rise to that level. Maybe on the 12th grade level, I bet they do. On the younger
It's still
grades.
good structure.
Still get the structure. Okay, and then have a supportive classroom culture by having that structure in your classroom, by never allowing giggling. If someone makes a comment, right, we never allow someone to make a comment back about that. Or if that happens in my class, and it does, I say in front of everyone, none of that. There will be none of it. So that my students feel safe in whatever they're going to say. They know that if they raise their hand, even if it's not right, I'm not going to allow a snicker. And so you have to kind of create a supportive classroom culture. And then finally with group work, our last thing on this is you have to stress individual accountability. We all know that one student wants to run that whole group discussion. I was that student, sorry. I'm just going to tell you all what to do. This is what we're going to do. I filled out all your sheets. And then you have students that really don't want to do it in that group. And then you have students that want to do it, but we're happy to defer to that one student if they're going to be stronger. You have to find a way to have individual accountability. So with the literature circle, everyone has their role. They're turning in their sheet for their role. There's that individual accountability that forces everyone to participate. So things to consider.
Yes.
Yes.
Is this document itself in the deal?
Yes.
You click on it, it goes to it.
Say
You've
that
got a
again.
link to this one.
Yes. Yes. And it's a great idea, Jeff. I don't know where he went. I'll do a table of contents within this first one. Okay, so now we're going to do American Heritage faculty breakout box. I'm just going to divide you into groups. You four are a group. You four are a group. Stay behind you. I'm just gonna have you 3 be a group. I'm gonna have you 4 be a group. I'm gonna have you 1, 2, 3, 4 be a group. I'm gonna have you 1, 2, 3, 4 be a group. That'll be easier for you to group. I'm gonna have you 1, 2, 3 be a group, and you 1, 2, 3 be a group. All right? Okay. All right. Do not open them. Do not open them. Do not open them. Do not open them.
Over here, Jeff. Please, Joanne.
That's my fault. I should read that clear. Do not open them. Do not open them. Close the class. It's a time to finish. No advantages. Close the class. Okay. So, within this, let me explain. Within this, we have 4 different puzzles. You must work your puzzles in order. You must complete puzzle 1 and pass it off with me before you open puzzle 2. Okay? You may not divide and conquer the puzzles. That's cheating. So, no divide and conquering. One puzzle as a group, when you pass, one person from your group runs up here. I say yes or no, you have the right answer. And then you can go back and say, yes, we got it. At that point, you open the second puzzle. Are there any questions on that? It's okay because you guys have been here a long time. It's all about American history. Okay. Here we go. Hold on, I haven't asked you to start yet. Please just listen to the instructions. Okay. You can create this on any topic. I do this as a review quarterly. It's super fun. I've made it very, very, very simple here today, mostly because I didn't want to take the time. It's intensive to build one, but once you build it, you have it for your class for years and years. And it's worth doing. They love doing this. But typically in my class, I'll have different stations. They'll rotate around the different stations. They'll look at math. They'll look at books. They'll do different things that really engage them in the puzzle. For this, I didn't do that. So they're very simple puzzles. But please know that's really not how I run these. I run these with more complex skills where they have to go around and find things. Sometimes they have to go around the school and find things. And it makes it really fun. But for today, simple. Class is closed. Okay, on your market, set, go. Some people love these and some people don't love them, but it pulls everyone in and it forces them. It's a great review activity. This is a wonderful assessment activity. It's a different way for them to review what they we do a Romeo and Juliet one in my class that has stuff about the local theater and kind of life in England at that time. And so you can make it on any topic at all. It does take time. To create this was a little bit disheartening because I didn't want to make it too difficult because I knew I'd never be able to use it again. Like, I can't use this again next year even if I speak to you because I've done it all. So, but in your classroom, it's something you could do over a break and you will have for years to come. So it's worth doing if that sounds interesting to you, it's worth doing. Okay, so and I just wanted to show you under breakout boxes, because you may think, okay, I have no idea how to do that test. That's good for you, but I don't know, I don't have any ideas. So right here, I've come up with some different puzzle ideas for you. If in doubt, just find the instructional strategy file. Most of the time, I'll have a link for you on how to do it. So here's breakout puzzle ideas. I just want to go through quickly. So some general puzzle ideas include encrypted messages in reading passages. You just find a way to hide messages within a reading passages, or you highlight letters that form a code word, or you place extra letters within the text. I've done that too, where I'll have the same, maybe a quote we've been learning in this, and then I'll put in like random letters in there, and they have to figure out this. Oh, that's a problem. That's not supposed to be there. And in fact, if I pull those out, that creates a word, a code word. So you can find a way to do encrypted messages in a reading passage. You can do clue cards. Students can collect letters to spell a word. I was just explaining for ancient Egypt one. I have cards of all the different pharaohs, and they have to look through their notes and put them in order of what year they reigned. And at the bottom of each card is a single letter that spells out a word. So when they have it in the right order, and they can use that kind of higher deductive reasoning too, where it spells out Horus, I think. So if they have these 5 pharaohs and it's not quite right, they also know Horus, so they can figure that out too, right? Different ways to solve the puzzle. They can match characters to character traits or quotes, so you could have a character list on one side and quotes on the other side, and then they have to match it. That can be one puzzle. Or character traits on the other side, they have to match it. Okay, they can match dates to events in history the same way. You could do a fill in the blank puzzle. You could set up a sheet that resembles a Wheel of Fortune board, a phrase with certain letters missing, and you just require, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like the Wheel of Fortune board and just has certain letters missing, and they have to go through and reason out, look through their notes, figure it out and reason out. Don't make it too easy for them. You want them to really dig into their notes and try to figure out what that might be. For this one, you want to make it a little bit difficult. They have to look in their notes. You could do rhyming clues. The key is to be descriptive while still providing a challenge. If you enjoy rhyming clues and have the time for them, rhymezone.com is a great site where you can type in a word and it will give you a list of rhyming suggestions. So if you have time to kind of play around and you really want to do a rhyming one, then rhymezone.com is a great resource. Mirror clues, you can utilize the site. This is a great site, Upside Down Text. And you write your clues, and it will turn it upside down for you, like this. This is a clue, and they've got to figure it out. And it says that's all there is to it. You see that right here? Yeah. That's all there is to it. Yeah, it's backwards text already. It's called, but the site is called upsidedowntext.com.
It is kind of hard to even see that.
I know, I'm sorry.
Can you go to view and make it bigger?
Can I?
Control plus.
Sure. It's not my, oh, is that better?
There you go. There's
Oh,
another
good.
one.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can hit the plus on the bottom.
Okay.
One more time.
It's not my, oh, wow.
Yay.
Yay, okay, thank you. All right, so it's a really simple way to come up with a clue. You just go on upsidedowntext.com, write in your clue. They're going to figure it out pretty fast, but it could be one of your clues. Card sets and mats. You can work certain cards with clues. You can have a story that relies on different cards. Sorry, I have to fix that. Cards and gives clues. You could write letters around a map. You could have a map. I've done this before where I have a map of something, and then based on the events of, we actually do it with Abraham, based on how his travels went, then there are different letters. There are letters all over the map, but they have to find the right map that has the right word spelled out. Jigsaw puzzles are a great way to do it. You can just print something out and write it on the back, and they have to make the puzzle. The puzzle itself could be a code word, everyday objects, physical movement clues, hidden messages. Oh yeah, if you really want to get into it, I have friends that do UV lights and invisible ink.
I have UV lights and invisible ink markers in
Oh,
my
there
room.
you go, that's that teacher.
And now we all know that.
You can borrow them.
Yeah, you can borrow them, totally.
Yes, thank you so much. So yeah, you can write it in invisible ink. You can buy it on Amazon if you want, and then they have these UV lights that they can shine on it. That's kind of fun to do. I know Stu's done these last year, and tied it into World War II, and that'd be a really fun way to have like this big message, you know, and you're this soldier looking to save someone. You could separate the batteries from the flashlight if you're doing that, and then have another clue lead them to the batteries. That just takes it that extra level of making it difficult. QR codes. This is up to you in the upper grades. I have QR code activities. I tell the students it's a free app they can download on their phone.
They need their phones, right?
Yes, that's why I'm saying it's up to you. But in 9th grade, we have lessons on say today's a QR code day, and I just need one person to have the app for every group. And typically, I've never had a problem in having one person who's principal let them download the free app. And then, if you get into that, I'm happy to come show you how to do it. You can actually create your own QR codes, and then they scan it, and it gives them information, and then they have to find something with it.
So Tess, can you give us a quick example of how you've used it? I've seen
With
it
breakout
done.
boxes.
No, QR codes, I've seen
With
it.
breakout boxes.
Yeah, okay.
So one way to do it is I'll link them to a site, and then I'll ask them a question. So like I'll link them to a history.com article, or something like that, or to any kind of article that I want, and then I'll ask them a question. The QR code is just kind of a fun way to scan for that information, and I usually have it set up at a station, and when we do QR codes, they'll rotate to that station, and they have to use the QR code, and they scan it, it goes to that, and then they have to find the answer for the article. It's not a hidden answer, it's just that. I've also done, I didn't do it last year, but the year before, I actually did QR codes where I had all the people of Rome, and I put them all over the school, and they had to walk around and scan and read the information and figure out who that person was. That was kind of fantastic. So I think anyway, that's
Jess, can I add one more thing?
yes.
I also have, because I did this 4 times last year, I've got a bunch of this stuff, and I also have a cipher wheel and like a website where you can just really easily do a code, and the students can use the cipher, and they love that.
Yeah, they do love that. We use the cipher wheel too. I should add that to it. Good, thank you. Thank you, Steve.
If you ever wanted to put something in a different language, I know someone who could help you with that.
But they have to be able to actually decipher it.
We're talking.
So if you're thinking of breakout boxes, you can click there and get some puzzle ideas. Okay, I'm just going to finish today with the simplest of all instructional strategies. It's called the stand-up game. This is what we're going to play. It's called the stand-up game. Everyone stand up. Please stand up. It's called the stand-up game. This is a bigger class than I typically have, so I may not do it the whole time. But the stand-up game goes like this. You get to sit down when you participate in the lesson. So, I'm going to ask you a question, and when you give an answer, then you get to sit down. All right. Stand-up game question is, you have to raise your hand. Yes, you have to raise your hand. Thank you. So, stand-up game question is something you've learned about teaching recently, sometime in the last year. Lori.
Make your students' eyes shine.
Make your students' eyes shine. Thank you. Narita.
Teach them how to research.
Teach them how to research. Good. We learned that. Yes. Were you going to say that too, Brian? Yes.
Use stories.
Use stories to teach. That's so good. Correct.
Teach behavior modification to reduce stress.
Teach behavior modification to reduce stress.
I'll never miss it.
Thank you. Yes.
That's all we said. Set expectations early, be consistent, and review them.
Good. Set expectations early. Be consistent and review them.
Set parameters for classroom management so that they know what.
Yes, you should have your classroom management in written form for them. Written form for you, written form for them, written form for the parents. Very good. Yes.
Researching how my subject relates to the gospel so that I can teach through the Spirit.
And you know, that's something that took me a long time to learn because I'm still learning it. It's not instinctive for all of us. We just get stuck on what we're teaching, and I have to remember, I have to do the research. So that's excellent. Thank you. How to better implement? All right.
The difference between being a friend and a peer.
Right. The difference between being a friend is worth considering, right?
But then I can argue when
Then I can only single image. That's a great way to start a class discussion.
Include test taking skills for your.
Well, that's an interesting thought. To actually include test-taking skills as part of our curriculum. Yes.
Well, when you're working with a student and you ask them what you think you can do to change your behavior from last time, they just say, I don't know. Learning to be silent.
Yeah, I know. Liz is good at that. She's the one that said it. Like that's a gift of hers is just nodding and waiting. Yes. Asking effective questions and how to do that. Yes.
The way you see a child is the way you treat them.
The way you see a child is the way you treat them. Vicky?
between governing respect and, there's a difference between governing respect and demanding respect.
There's a difference between governing respect and demanding it. Yes?
The students need the spirit to learn as much as we need the spirit to
Yes. And you know what? Something was said in our department meeting that was interesting to me, and that was we really have to find ways to control and ensure that the spirit is there, and one of them is through equal participation. When you have a few students that are dominating the discussion, the spirit in the room actually decreases. I was talking about that, and I felt that in the classroom. I know that's true. We have to find a way to ensure that everyone's having that, and that increases the spirit. Thank you.
Stress isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yes. I love that. I was talking about that last night. Yeah.
They have an internal word, remember that.
Yes.
Their
That's right. Yeah. To remember their worth, the worth of a child. Keisha.
Remember the value of foundations as being an anchor.
Yeah. To think of it as an anchor.
Failure is important to success.
Yeah. It's part of the process. Failure is important. And we shouldn't put those should always on top of us.
When you create structure in your classroom, then that helps them to feel more safe.
Yeah. It helps them to feel when I really believe that when it's fair across the board, then that's when they feel safe.
You can teach students to have a growth mindset and that they can accomplish new things and do new things, but that the value is fixed and it doesn't increase with accomplishments and it doesn't decrease with value.
I love that. That's great. That goes back to our anchor and sales discussion that we had.
Set expectations high and most often students will rise to
They will rise to them. I was so impressed with our AP testing scores, and I thought sometimes we hear a lot of feedback from the students that it's hard, but look how they rose to those challenges. Brent?
A good master of your craft is simply.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. Find a way to teach it simply, that it's actually a more masterful presentation. Something I could work on for sure. Director?
How to use the growth mindset to overcome misconceptions.
How to use the growth mindset to overcome misconceptions. Good. Jeff?
Don't take myself too seriously.
Awesome. Yeah. Don't overthink it. Don't get in our heads too much, right? All right. Harder if you wait till the end for sure.
Teaching students to learn how to self-discover.
We have to do that, don't we? And that's hard. It requires more work on our part. But once we do it, it actually frees up that period for us to really relax and enjoy seeing them learn and not feel like we're running the show.
I like Mr. Kennard's 2x10. You know, every so often you have a student, and I thought if I could use that 2 minutes for 10 days, I don't know why that stuck with me right away, because every so often you have one, just one or two, and I'd love to try that now.
It has to be presented in an equation, right?
Yeah.
You understand it better.
Don't worry, we can do that.
Just what you just said, I will have none of that. And just to create a safe space, and they'll know, oh, the teacher is going to be safe.
Yeah, I think that that's important. I think that it kind of goes back to what Stu was talking about, how we really, it's like parenting, we don't want to be their friend. We need to create a safe place for them so that learning can happen and they can be emotionally safe in that space. And sometimes it's by being firm. Yes, thank you. Okay, a few on the back. Leaners who feel like that. Yes.
I found that students like getting in a rhythm, especially with math. We have the same kind of sequence. And so if they know what to do each day, they can come in and they know what I expect, and they can kind of, if they come in late, they still know where they can jump in and be a part of the discussion.
Yes, that's great. That's that classroom management where they know right when they come in any class what's expected. Those first few minutes of class allows you to capture that time. Okay, any others? Oh, Camille, yes.
The thing I learned was just communicating with parents, just making sure that you're always keeping that communication open and as frequent as possible.
Good, thank you.
Serve, eat, and play with them.
He's good at that.
Here's my question. They say that sit in the classroom.
That's a Will Heyman thing.
All of this is play, guys. All of this is. Everything she's talking about.
It is. Okay, so that's the stand-up game. Really easy, a great thing to do at the end of the class, just as a review of, what have we learned this week? What are your thoughts this week? I've done the stand-up game before where I've asked them, what's been the hardest part of your week? And we just do a stand-up game. And it's a real community building experience for people to say just simple little things, and it's a very, people have a respect, the students have a respectful response always.
What do you do in a situation where you had a couple of students that hadn't said anything?
You just wait.
So everybody has to participate?
It's the stand-up game.
Yep. You look pretty foolish just standing there.
Yes.
Well, one of the problems was that Sam didn't know the question.
That's why I was
You can
standing
write
for
it
so
on the
long.
board, maybe. Write it on the board, that would fix that. Yes. It's not a right or wrong answer.
Right.
Yes, there can be no right or wrong answers in the stand-up game. The stand-up game is more kind of thinking about it.
You have someone saying it's not known.
Yes, you don't want to stand up and say, list an Egyptian pharaoh. Everyone knows an Egyptian pharaoh. That would be really terrible. So yes, it has to be an open-ended, thank you for bringing that up. An open-ended, thoughtful, my participation type of answer.
Have you ever done multiple questions? I mean, like, done the first 5 students have this kind of question?
No, but you could do that. That's a great idea, Keisha. Yeah, you could have that, and then maybe if you felt like some students were stuck, you could have the second question. Yeah. Okay, so that's a very, very simple thing. Probably the simplest of them all. Are there any questions? We just have 2 minutes left. That's the instructional strategy file.
Thank you so much.